Good morning, Driven Directors. Thank you so much for being on live. And we are on Chapter 10 of Action Plan for New Directors today. And Chapter 10 is on creating effective newsletters. And we're also going to talk about effective recognition on social media because that's extremely important nowadays because the whole world is on social media. So let's get started with this chapter. The goals of this chapter are ideas about creating a newsletter, suggested topics to include in your newsletter, and tips on how to make your newsletter work for you. And in every single one of these categories, really the ideal here is recognition. So when the newsletter came out, it was the best way to give consultants recognition. We all know that today you can give much faster, relevant recognition on social media. So does the newsletter still have an importance? And it absolutely does. There's something incredible about having something physical and tangible that mails to your house that the consultant can put on her refrigerator or leave on the dining table and her family sees it and they go, "Mom, is that you?" And she's like, "Yes, I'm on the front cover." So there is a lot of relevance to having a newsletter. So we are going to take time to talk about it. But that does not mean that we exclude social media or that we just do social media and exclude the newsletter, okay? Your newsletter does not need to be this many pages. It could literally be one page front and back folded in half, okay? So it could be extremely simple. So let's dive in here. Mary Kay Ash said, create an excellent newsletter that arrives regularly, and that's probably the key word, in your unit members' mailboxes at a certain time each month. That newsletter should contain recognition, inspiration, and education. So it's very similar to our success meetings where it has all three of those things: recognition, inspiration, and education. I've noticed that some directors write a personal note to each beauty consultant. I think this is excellent. It gives you a chance to give them that little extra bit of recognition. And so it's definitely noteworthy to write a note to them. Now, do you have to? Are you like, "Oh my gosh, I don't have time for that, so I'm not going to do a newsletter"? No, then that's going to defeat the purpose. We want you to have a newsletter, okay? That's the most important thing. All right, so do you remember getting a newsletter from your Mary Kay sales director? And I hope the answer to that is yes, and how excited you were when it came in and how you looked for your name in the rankings. And this is part of creating a top director unit. I just want you to know that every top Mary Kay sales director that I know, and in building my unit up to top unit success, we had websites for recognition, but we always had our newsletter. Like, our newsletter was key. It was primary. And so my consultants would fight for those top 3 spots, okay? And if you're like, "Oh my goodness, I don't see that happening in my unit," just focus on your unit size and it will happen. And it's something that you want to bring up at your monthly unit success meeting. Like, if you do a monthly meeting for just your unit, you're going to want to have the newsletter and pass it out, even if it's from the month before, and give recognition from the month before so that people start paying attention to it, and it gives your newsletter traction. The importance of design, I think that there's a lot of designers out there. I don't think we need to spend a lot of time on designers. There's many companies that create newsletters effectively and probably more cost effective than if you did it yourself, which is pretty simple. You don't want to have any white space and the layout, and they all do such a phenomenal job because they are professional. But let's talk about the sticking to a monthly routine. This is extremely important because reports close between the 8th and the 10th of the month. And if you are using a service or even within your own office, as soon as reports close, you want that newsletter to be crunched out, typically between the 12th and the 14th, so that it's in the mail by the 15th, okay? And so that is like a great little timeline for you to have for yourself, for your organization. The question is always, and it's easy to put your newsletter on your Facebook page. And so this goes in with recognition. I highly, highly, highly recommend that you create a private group page for you and your unit members, okay? A private group page for you and your unit members on Facebook. And I post my newsletter on there first. So I know that it's coming in, they know it's coming in the mail, but it gets posted there first, okay? So then the question is, well, who do I mail it to, okay? If your name is in the newsletter, I mail it to you. Pretty simple. So that would be everyone on the front cover. So I've got my queens, queen of sales, queen of sharing, queen of booking. I also have anyone who submitted their weekly accomplishment sheet. And this is my top 5, of course. Anyone who submitted their weekly accomplishment sheet is in the newsletter. Anyone who placed an order that month, they're in the newsletter. Here's all my weekly accomplishment sheets, everyone who submitted one. I also have, in this particular newsletter, all my stars are there too, okay? So all my stars are on the newsletter. Also, all of my birthdays are in the newsletter. So if it was your birthday this month, you get a newsletter. Your anniversary, you get a newsletter. And anyone who has a team member, because I do have this page that has my senior consultants, my red jackets, my DIQs, all of that is on here. So they get a copy of the newsletter as well too. So you'll notice though that a lot of names kind of like double up, okay? The unique ones would be birthdays and anniversaries, okay? And because it is their birthday and because it is their anniversary, you want to highlight that. I mean, it'd be super simple to have a happy birthday sticker or a happy birthday stamp. So when you mail this, it says happy birthday. And I'm going to show you guys my happy mail sticker. Can you get me a happy mail sticker? So when you seal your newsletter and it's going to mail out to them, you want to have some type of fun thing on the outside of that newsletter so that they open it up and so that they want to read it. Because if you don't have anything fun on it on the outside there, you guys, it's just not gonna pop. It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna look as pretty. Okay. So, this is, already pre-labeled going to her, but I can easily stick this happy meal sticker right here. I could put a birthday stamp right here at the top. That would be easy to do as well too. So that she sees it and she's like, oh my gosh, she wrote me a birthday note. So to all your birthdays, all you have to do is put happy birthday, love, Ari. So it keeps it real simple. Okay, there is a balloon floating behind me. Look at that. Oh, what does it say? Aw, that was perfect timing. It says happy birthday. It's kind of curly. Okay, let's put the balloon away. All right, so sticking to a monthly schedule is really important. It's part of having a successful newsletter and a team that tracks it, okay? What you might include in your newsletter, and I've mentioned some of these, your unit scoreboard goes into your newsletter. Recruiters and their teams goes into the newsletter. You want to highlight anyone who is a recruiter, bronze medal, gold medal, silver medal, new unit members. I always say, welcome new busy bees, and I have a list of all my new busy bees. Birthdays, anniversaries, we talked about that, star consultants, seminar courts, this is huge. This is everyone who is tracking those seminar courts. It goes into my newsletter, and I'm gonna show this to you guys. Because people look for this, they really do. They wanna, this is the easiest place for them to get it. It's even better than on Mary Kay in Touch, that's for sure. And right now I'm not finding that page, but that's probably the single most, oh, here it is, Core to Sales and Core to Sharing. Right here. So I have like my Core to Sales and my Core to Sharing, and it has the pictures of the bees and of the diamond rings, okay? That is so important because consultants are looking for that, okay? And if you talk about it, at seminar this year, we're gonna recognize our Core to Sales winners and our Core to Sharing winners and our Princess Courts. This, closer to the end of the year, like once March hits, career conference is over, it's the perfect time to start talking Princess Court, Princess Court, Princess Court. And that is your nationals court, which is half of the Mary Kay National Court. So it's 12 qualified instead of 24 qualified, and 20,000 retail instead of 40,000 retail, okay? Other categories is things that come from the weekly accomplishment sheet, like number of skincare classes held, most faces held, most on the go appointment, highest amount of reorders, that type of stuff, okay? You may want to have an idea or tip of the month. I've even seen recipe of the month, which is kind of cute. You can definitely recognize anyone who's gotten engaged, married, had a baby. If you want to have a care corner, so to speak, that's really sweet, and it helps create culture within your organization. You can even do a personal letter. Every month I'd write a whole new personal letter to my unit about what was happening that month or what happened the month before, and I'm going to tell you when I wrote it. I wrote it either right after the month closed or the very next morning when my heart was really just extremely passionate about what had to happen this month, or, about what didn't happen the month before. It's when I felt the most clear about what had to happen that month, okay? I do put a calendar in my newsletter. I think that's extremely important that you have a calendar. So a list of activities, it could look like a WeGo, a Wink, which is you know, what you need to know. A week goes, what is going on? But a calendar and any contest that you have for that month need to go on there, okay? As well too. If you are keeping your newsletter to just one page front and back, and you're just going to stick it in an envelope to keep it simple with one stamp, you really want to consider what content is the absolute most important. But you can put several pieces of paper in an envelope before it goes over an ounce, and you have to use additional postage. So you may as well take advantage of like that. You know, if anything, if you're like, I'm really defunct in this department, I know that you could do this. I know that you can type out a letter, your promotion, and your calendar. And if nothing else goes out, it's a letter about that month, your promotion for the month, and the calendar for the month. You fold it in half, stick it in an envelope, and it goes out, okay? And obviously, you know, this goes without saying, these are things that we delegate to our assistant as well too, okay? So, you know, pages 160 through like 162 is really you deciding how many pages you want it to be and how many copies. I highly recommend Office Depot Print Center. We get our black and whites for 2 cents and our color for 22 cents. The only people in my unit that get color are front page people. So that's my top 5 in sales, top 5 in sharing, and I think that's all I keep on the front cover if I'm not mistaken. That is correct. Top 5 in sales and top 5 in sharing for the year. So I only print 10 in color, you know, depending on how many pages that is, it doesn't cost me more than, you know, $2 per person. But that's totally up to you. But keeping it black and white is extremely cost effective because it's only 2 cents, okay? What size paper you want to do it on, you know, keeping it on regular 8.5 by 11 keeps it simple. Do you want to do color, black and white, one-sided, two-sided? For many years, I just did a two-sided. Actually, here it is. There was a time I had like an actual newsletter, but two-sided, stapled in the corner, and it flips like that, and then it would be double-sided. That was it. Super simple, okay? Any additional services that you want to add, like if it's collated or folded in half, is totally up to you, but they'll do that for you. And it really, I think all of that depends on your 2 things. Number 1, depends on your budget, and number 2, it depends on how picky you are. And if it's not in your budget, you're gonna have to let go of your pickiness. Sorry, it's just the way that it works until you make more money. Maybe that'll motivate you, okay? You know, tips, you wanna make sure you proofread it because there are people who are crazy about there being typos and it shows them a lack of professionalism. You wanna use a lot of pictures in your newsletter. It's really helpful to have pictures. I know that the service that I use collects pictures for my beauty consultants for me, and that makes it so much easier. Oh my gosh, that made my life so much simpler. You do want to include a challenge in there. You know, you want to have your challenge in there and save copies of your newsletters. And I'm going to share with you why it's so important to save copies of your newsletter, because you forget how brilliant you are, and when you are lacking inspiration, you're going to pull out your old newsletters and go, wow, that was really smart of me. Okay, I promise this is going to happen to you because it's happened to me. Okay, what do I post on social media? On social media, within my group page, I do post all the birthdays for the month and all the anniversaries for the month, and ideally one post makes it simpler, and then you tag everybody. That keeps it real simple. You also want to post everyone who's on the front page of the newsletter and tag them as well too. Recognition live as it happens. When they add a new team member, welcome to our new team member and promotion alert to the new senior or the new red or the new team leader. That is absolutely necessary. If you're choosing to track things such as $100 days, I know that a lot of directors do this and they do a monthly raffle. So at the beginning of the month, you post $100 days and everybody puts it in the comment section right below that post. And at the end of the month, it's easy for you to do your raffle. But every time somebody comments, people can congratulate them and in a reply comment. So it's awesome. $100 days if you choose to track that as well too. And these things are important because it keeps your unit awake, alive, alert, enthusiastic about what is coming up the pipeline this month, okay? I know that there is a huge value if you have a WhatsApp group or a Voxer group. Maintenance on that is a little bit harder I believe, you know, and I don't think with WhatsApp it's like this, but with Voxer, when someone leaves a group, it's like, she left the group. So you don't really see that on Facebook. You don't see when people are added or when people are removed. So I like that better about Facebook, and people are already on social media naturally anyway. So it keeps it real simple, okay? So you definitely wanna have a Facebook page. People have asked me about having a website. I don't really believe they're necessary nowadays because on your private Facebook page, there is an opportunity for you to just store any files your unit really needs. You can put them right there. And I know that one of our awesome directors, Romy PR, has a Dropbox link, and all of her consultants have access to it, and it has every file she needs. So there's no need for you to have a website or pay for a website unnecessarily, unless if you have a major hookup and you don't really have to pay much for it. Okay, so our 6 most important things to do list when it comes to really recognition: newsletters and social media. Number 1, send a newsletter every month at the exact same time. So your newsletter needs to post every month at the same time and mail at the same time. Number 2, you can use InTouch one-click. This is not a viable option for us anymore from what I understand. And if I am incorrect, I apologize, okay? Mary Kay used to have a feature called one-click for us to create our newsletters. Number 3, make sure your newsletter is in your beauty consultant's hands as close to the beginning of the month as possible. And that is important. That is absolutely important. Number 4, delegate most of the tasks of creating the newsletter to your assistant. Number 5, try to include each beauty consultant's name at least once a quarter. Okay, and that's why we do birthdays and anniversaries and that type of thing. Number 6, personalize your newsletter by writing a brief note on each one, or you can just do a personalized letter in the front, okay? So this is chapter 10 on creating an effective newsletter and using social media for recognitions. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me, your national sales director, or to your senior sales director. Make it a powerful, pink, and on purpose day. Bye.